Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we delve deeper into the Noor Mukadam murder case, a tragedy that shook an entire nation. We are going to expose the people who should be in prison, but got away, and the individuals who had the power to save Noor's life, but chose not to act. If you haven't watched the first video yet, I strongly recommend doing so before continuing here. You'll find the link to it in the pinned comment. Noor Mukadam was the kind of person the world needs more of. Kind-hearted, nurturing, and full of empathy. Her father recalls how, at dinner parties, Noor would often sit with the elders, patiently listening to their life stories and sharing their experiences. On her birthdays, she would buy toys and drop it off to orphanage, bringing smiles to children who needed it the most. One summer day, while sitting in her air-conditioned car, Noor noticed a stray dog struggling in the sweltering heat. Most people would have ignored the sight, but not Noor. Despite her brother's warnings, she stepped out and gave the thirsty dog water. Acts of kindness like this defined her. The vibrant wall art you see on the screen was painted by Noor herself. These are her paintings, each a reflection of her creative spirit and the beauty she brought into the world. But standing in stark contrast to Noor's light was Zahir Jaffer, a man born into privilege yet consumed by entitlement and darkness. This is Facebook conversation with one of female family friend. Offers a glimpse into Zahir's disturbing personality. TCM Originals did an interview with her. I'm going to play a short clip from that interview. You can find the link to the full interview in the description.
I know that the kind of guys that he was around were insanely misogynistic and abusive. I mean, these men were vile, and I'm like triggered even thinking about it because of the kind of things that they have said to me, that they have said about my mother. Men like Zahir identify how privileged they are. They identify how they can probably get away with things.
It's clear that Zahir was deeply misogynistic, self-absorbed and unhinged. At one point, while staying in England with his mother, an explosive argument escalated into physical abuse, forcing his mother to call the police on him. His academic career was another disaster. Sent to the US to study, Zahir showed little interest in education, focusing instead on partying, drinking, and drugs. When his substance abuse spiraled out of control, his parents demanded he return to Pakistan. At first, he refused, but when they threatened to cut off his allowance, a grown man who had never earned a dime on his own, he had no choice but to give in. His return to Pakistan didn't bring about any change. In 2019, tragedy struck again. An overspeeding car, reportedly coming from a drug-fueled party at Zahir's house, veered off the road and plunged into a stream. 3 of the 5 occupants died. Zahir also had ties to Therapy Works, a psychotherapy center where he was admitted multiple times for drug and alcohol abuse. Ironically, he later posed as a mental health expert, giving lectures in schools while pretending to work as a therapist. During a press conference, the CEO of Therapy Works, Tahir Zahur, revealed that Zahir's parents repeatedly pulled him out of treatment despite the center's warnings. Zahur stated that Zahir's primary issues were drug and alcohol abuse, not mental illness. Yet, his family's influence and neglect enabled him to spiral further into darkness. Noor's life, a life so full of kindness and innocence, could have easily been saved. It starts with the taxi driver. He was called to take Zahir to the airport, but after waiting for a while, he was sent away with the excuse, "It's too late. I'm going to miss the flight." Not long after, he was called back again. Noor was with Zahir, barefoot, her hair disheveled, looking nothing like someone heading to the airport. In fact, no one leaves home looking like that. 15 minutes into the ride, Zahir asked the driver to make a U-turn, saying, "Never mind, it's too late. Take us back." During the entire time, Zahir was talking to Noor, but she wasn't responding. The taxi driver knew something was wrong. He could feel it, as he stated in his interview. Yet he chose not to act. He didn't call the police. He simply drove on. And then there were the neighbors. Noor was brutally beaten, raped, and stabbed. To think she wouldn't have screamed on top of her lungs is impossible. Yet somehow, no one claims to have heard anything. Look closely at this video footage. In the moment when Zahir jumps from the second floor, you can see a man at the top of the screen, curiously looking at the house. He noticed something was off. Something about the scene wasn't right. But instead of calling the police, he chose to mind his own business. A place where people are often overly involved in each other's lives. Yet on July 21st, 2021, everyone decided to mind their own. And then there's the household staff, the guard and other workers. They not only prevented Noor from leaving the house, but they also failed to call the police. They heard her screams, they heard her cries for help, and instead of doing something, they called Zahir's parents to report the chaos happening in the house. Zahir also spoke to his parents several times during this ordeal. And I'm sure just from talking to him, Zahir's parents would have known that he was under the influence and not acting normal. They would have also known that Noor had been held hostage in their home since the night of July 18th. They knew about the screams coming from his room. They knew she had jumped out of the second floor. They knew everything. If they had called the police, or at least called Noor's father, she might still be alive today. But instead, what did they do? They called his therapist. And even then, they didn't clearly explain the situation. They casually mentioned, "Zahir isn't himself. He's soliciting a girl. Can you send some people over to the house?" Zahir's parents were taken to the police station. Yet they were released without any charges. Their negligence, their selfishness, and their unwillingness to hold their son accountable cost an innocent life. They didn't do anything that could have saved her. Why? Perhaps to protect their son, their family's reputation. But in doing so, they became complicit in this heinous crime and should have been held responsible. Every tragedy leaves behind broken hearts and tears, but also lessons. Noor's case teaches us the importance of building a strong connection with our children. Spend time with them, communicate openly, and provide a safe space where they feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and fears. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and it's something we must consciously nurture as parents. Perhaps if Noor felt comfortable enough to tell her mother where she was going, things might have turned out differently. But in many cases, children stay silent because they don't feel that safety and openness. In the race of life, in our relentless pursuit of success and money, we often neglect our families, especially our children. Teach them responsibility. Let them face the consequences of their actions, instead of shielding them from every hardship. Overprotectiveness and enabling behavior can have devastating consequences. If we don't set boundaries and allow our children to learn and grow, they may lose their moral compass.
What do you want to say? It's a big fucking joke, that's what I have to say.